What process? Hey, whoa, what the hell, man? Huh. It's gonna be like that. You wanna go?
Welcome back, friend. How are you?
Thank you. It's so good to be back.
Are you happy with life right now? It feels like a very exciting time to be Tom Holland.
Oh, dude, I'm living the dream right now.
Millions of fans around the world have dreamed of meeting Tom Holland and giving him a hug in real life. But on the other side of that dream, the young English actor once carried a long list of wild ambitions of his own. Over a decade in the media spotlight, Tom Holland has watched those dreams come true, one after another. And today, we are looking back at 8 times he turned his dream life into reality. Becoming Spider-Man. In 2013, the Empire Awards unfolded under the watchful eye of the London media. A reporter approached 16-year-old Tom Holland and asked him a routine question. What would be his dream superhero role? Without the slightest hesitation, Tom smiled and gave a completely spontaneous answer. He said that, if he had the choice, he would want to play Spider-Man sometime within the next 10 years, whenever Hollywood decided to reboot the franchise again. The comment was made on an otherwise ordinary evening and quickly faded into obscurity. But just 2 years later, in 2015, a historic agreement between Sony Pictures and Marvel Studios changed everything. Marvel launched a worldwide search for a new actor to play Peter Parker. More than 1,500 young male actors from around the globe submitted themselves for the fiercely competitive audition process. Tom Holland entered the race with an advantage few people expected. Years earlier, he had endured rigorous training in classical dance and acrobatics to play the lead role in Billy Elliot on London's West End. That remarkable control over his body would become his decisive weapon. During his final audition with Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans, Tom Holland did something that was not in the script. With complete confidence, he performed a backflip directly in front of the production executives. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige was immediately won over by his enthusiasm and genuine physical ability. Tom Holland officially became Peter Parker at just 19 years old, reducing the 10-year timeline he had once predicted to exactly 2 years. His first appearance in Captain America, Civil War, followed by his own series of films, turned Tom Holland into one of the most successful versions of Spider-Man in history. Fans began digging up the 2013 interview. They were stunned to realize that the young actor had ordered the role as casually as if he were choosing from a menu, and Hollywood had delivered it almost exactly as requested. Playing Spider-Man did more than transform Tom's career. It also brought him closer to someone who would completely change his personal life. His relationship with Zendaya. During a rapid-fire interview early in his career, a reporter asked Tom Holland to name his first celebrity crush. Tom immediately said Zendaya, without taking even a second to think. At the time, his answer was seen as nothing more than an innocent compliment between 2 young actors preparing to work together on a major project. When the pair began filming Spider-Man: Homecoming, producer Amy Pascal noticed an unusual closeness developing between them. She pulled Tom and Zendaya aside and gave them a serious warning. She told them under no circumstances should they date each other because complicated on-set romances could threaten a multi-billion-dollar film franchise. But those warnings could not stop the natural connection forming between them. A defining moment in their relationship came in 2017 on the stage of Lip Sync Battle. Tom Holland threw himself completely into a drag performance of Umbrella, while Zendaya transformed into Bruno Mars. The commitment they showed and the understanding they shared behind the scenes created an extraordinarily strong bond between them. From close co-stars, Tom and Zendaya officially became a real-life couple. Their relationship earned widespread public support because of its sincerity and the way they protected their private lives from the media. By December 2024, reports that the two were officially engaged caused social media platforms to erupt. Once again, fans returned to that old interview. The spontaneous answer given by a young man years earlier had become a complete reality a decade later. Tom Holland had not only achieved the greatest dream of his career, he had done the same with the person he would share his life with. And with his personal life seemingly complete, he began bringing his everyday passions to the big screen. The uncharted adaptation. Tom Holland has never hidden his love of video games. During a live stream with fans, he once spoke enthusiastically about Naughty Dog's Uncharted role-playing game series. He declared that it was his favorite video game and said he had spent hundreds of hours controlling its central character, Nathan Drake. That enthusiasm went far beyond polite conversation. During the filming of Spider-Man: Homecoming, Sony Pictures installed a PlayStation inside Tom's trailer so he could relax after long and demanding days on set. But instead of resting, Tom repeatedly played Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. The more he played, the more he recognized the story's enormous cinematic potential. Tom Holland decided to take action. He arranged a meeting with Sony Pictures chairman Tom Rothman to discuss a new idea. Tom proposed making a feature film about a younger Nathan Drake, exploring the events that took place before the beginning of the video game series. The concept immediately captured the studio leadership's attention. Back in 2010, actor Mark Wahlberg had been considered for the leading role of Nathan Drake. However, the project remained stalled for years after going through countless changes in directors. When Tom Holland proposed a new direction, the entire structure of the project shifted. Mark Wahlberg moved into the role of Victor Sully, Nathan's uncle, while the leading role of Nathan Drake was handed to Tom. The Uncharted movie officially began production with Tom Holland as its star. He personally performed many dangerous aerial action sequences, including a scene in which he falls from a cargo plane. His journey from an obsessive gamer playing inside his trailer to the leading man of the film adaptation happened at remarkable speed. Turning a personal hobby into a major movie franchise was an important achievement. But Tom soon discovered that his words could also attract some of Hollywood's biggest actors to work alongside him. Working with Jake Gyllenhaal, during an interview in which he answered questions from fans, Tom Holland was asked to name 3 actors he most wanted to work with during his career. The first name that came out of his mouth was Jake Gyllenhaal, one of Hollywood's most accomplished dramatic talents. At the time, the statement seemed like nothing more than a young actor expressing admiration for a respected veteran. But that wish quickly reached the people casting Marvel Studios' next project. While developing the screenplay for Spider-Man: Far From Home, Marvel officially invited Jake Gyllenhaal to play Quentin Beck, better known as the villain Mysterio. Jake agreed to join the project, turning Tom's dream into reality in the very next film. Their partnership created a number of amusing problems on set. Director John Watts reportedly complained several times that Tom Holland and Jake Gyllenhaal had become far too close. They constantly burst into laughter during serious confrontation scenes, forcing the crew to film the same moments again and again. Their off-screen friendship quickly became a media phenomenon throughout the film's 2019 promotional tour. Far From Home earned more than $1 billion worldwide and received highly positive responses from critics. The natural chemistry between Tom and Jake became a powerful foundation for the entire story. The public could only watch in amazement. It seemed that Tom Holland did not need to go through the usual process of auditioning potential co-stars. He simply had to mention their names during an interview, and the studio would somehow find a way to bring them onto the set. But summoning one celebrated actor was not the end of it. Tom soon turned his attention toward a legendary villain from the past, the return of Doc Ock. Before Spider-Man: No Way Home entered production, Tom Holland took part in an interview discussing characters from the comic books. When asked to name the greatest villain ever to appear in the Spider-Man universe, he did not hesitate. His answer was Dr. Octopus, portrayed by veteran actor Alfred Molina in the 2004 film Spider-Man 2. That praise created an extraordinarily complicated challenge for the filmmakers. Alfred Molina's Doc Ock had sacrificed himself at the end of the 2004 movie, and 17 years had passed since then. To bring the actor back, Marvel Studios would need to use some of its most complex and expensive digital de-aging technology. Yet once again, Tom's wish became a reality. Alfred Molina agreed to return to his historic role. The veteran actor was so excited that he accidentally revealed the news to the press before the film could officially announce it. He shared that returning to the character after 17 years and working alongside a young actor as energetic as Tom Holland had been a wonderful experience. Doc Ock's appearance in the No Way Home trailer, accompanied by one brief greeting, sent the internet into a frenzy. His return was not merely an exercise in nostalgia. It also played a central role in driving Peter Parker's emotional journey throughout the film. Once again, Audiences were left amazed by Tom Holland's apparent ability to summon his dreams into existence. He had not only chosen one of his own co-stars, he had brought a character who had been dead on screen for 17 years back to life. Reviving one legendary villain was already a major achievement, but it was only the first step toward a much larger reunion, one that audiences around the world had been waiting nearly a decade to see. The three Spider-Men reunite. For years, the idea of three generations of Spider-Man appearing together in the same film existed only as a fan theory on internet forums. Whenever Tom Holland was asked about the possibility in interviews, he always said he would love to share the screen with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, even though he understood that bringing three separate film franchises together would be an almost impossible task. Behind the curtain of media secrecy, Marvel Studios and Sony Pictures were quietly turning that impossibility into reality. To protect the project, Tom Holland created a private WhatsApp group called Spider Boys, allowing him to communicate directly with Tobey and Andrew. The secrecy surrounding the production was so intense that Andrew Garfield had to lie to everyone, including his family and the press, for an entire year. On the set of No Way Home, the three actors shared several historic days of filming. They talked about the challenges of wearing the Spider-Man suit and even recreated the famous image of three Spider-Men pointing at one another, inspired by the 1967 animated series. When the film was released at the end of 2021, the moment Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield stepped through the multiverse portals caused theaters around the world to erupt in cheers. The movie earned more than $1.9 billion worldwide and received a 93% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. The event entered film history as one of the most successful crossovers of all time. Tom Holland had expressed what once seemed like an impossible wish during an interview years earlier, and two of Hollywood's largest studios had spent hundreds of millions of dollars to make that wish come true. Marvel had given Tom everything he could ask for on the big screen. But outside the superhero universe, his power to turn dreams into reality still had one deeply personal debt left to settle: Romeo and Juliet. During an in-depth interview about his life, Tom Holland once shared a painful childhood memory. The first audition of his life took place at school for a production of Romeo and Juliet. Young Tom tried out for every role he possibly could, even the female lead, Juliet. But in the end, he was rejected completely and did not receive so much as a background part. That memory of failure remained with him throughout his adult life. After becoming one of the highest-grossing movie stars in the world, Tom decided to return to the stage. In 2024, renowned director Jamie Lloyd mounted a new production of Romeo and Juliet at the Duke of York's Theatre in London's West End. Tom Holland was chosen to play the leading role of Romeo. The announcement of Tom's return to theater created an extraordinary frenzy among British audiences. The moment the online ticketing system opened, every seat for the multi-week run sold out in less than 2 hours. Tom's performance on stage received a wave of praise from critics. He delivered a Romeo who was sharp-edged, introspective, and filled with psychological weight. The role reminded the world that before Tom Holland became a Hollywood superhero, he had been a seriously trained stage performer. Audiences recognized that this story carried a deeper meaning than his previous dreams coming true. This was not simply about securing another role. It was Tom Holland returning to the place where his journey began and settling a personal debt from childhood. And once that schoolboy disappointment had finally been erased, the last piece in his long list of public declarations led back to a 10-year promise built upon one extraordinary friendship: working with Jon Bernthal. In 2017, while filming the low-budget independent movie Pilgrimage in the remote mudflats of Ireland, Tom Holland met actor Jon Bernthal. During the physically demanding production, as they worked together in the mud and harsh conditions, a close friendship formed between them. Tom openly expressed his admiration for Jon and said he hoped that one day the two of them would appear together in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What few people knew was that back in 2015 and 2016, while they were working on that small film, both actors were secretly going through separate audition processes for Marvel. Tom was auditioning for Spider-Man, while Jon was trying out for The Punisher. They decided to use their days off from filming in Ireland to help record each other's audition tapes. To give Tom the adrenaline and reckless expression he needed for the footage being sent to Marvel Studios, John Bernthal reportedly took a very direct approach. He slapped Tom hard across the face just before the camera started rolling. In return, Tom Holland, who had a deep understanding of comic books, spent hours explaining the complicated psychology of the Punisher to John, who was not a comic book reader. Their mutual support paid off. Both men secured their roles, but for years they worked in completely separate corners of the Marvel Universe. Tom continued to hold on to the hope that one day their two characters would finally meet on screen. Nearly a decade later, that wish officially became reality in Spider-Man: Brand New Day. The moment Tom Holland's Spider-Man and John Bernthal's Punisher appeared together in an action sequence sent fans into an emotional frenzy. Everyone who had followed their journey understood that this was no random coincidence. It was the fulfillment of a 10-year plan, carefully built upon a genuine friendship. When the universe follows his every word. Looking back at these 8 events in Tom Holland's career, one repeated pattern becomes impossible to ignore. From predicting that he would play Spider-Man and developing a relationship with Zendaya, to adapting Uncharted, working with Jake Gyllenhaal and Alfred Molina, reuniting Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, starring in Romeo and Juliet, and finally sharing the screen again with John Bernthal, everything happened almost exactly as he had once described it in front of the media. But Tom Holland's power of manifestation is not mystical magic or random luck. Behind every spontaneous declaration was an extraordinarily serious process of preparation. He spoke about playing Spider-Man after developing exceptional acrobatic abilities. He spoke about Uncharted after spending hundreds of hours studying and playing as its central character. He returned to the theater after building a solid foundation in performance from childhood. His sincerity, positive energy, and willingness to take initiative transformed Tom Holland's public declarations into magnets for opportunity. He did not sit back and wait for circumstances to change, nor did he create elaborate plans on paper. Tom Holland simply lived fully through his passions and spoke openly about his dreams with absolute confidence. And somehow Hollywood, and the entire cinematic universe surrounding him, has always found a way to move, adjust, and catch up with every word he said.